Hey VC, it's been a while. I am jumping in a contest here for Craig Danger, the vinyl record player. If you don't know his channel, please check it out. Obviously, the link will be in the description below. Craig's got a great knowledge of soul R&B stuff. Learned a lot from his channel already, and he's just absolutely hilarious. So check out Craig Danger, the vinyl record player. And his challenge here is to show 5 records that are blind buys. So blind buys meaning I didn't know the artist at all or didn't know anything about it, just thought I'd grab it and see what happens. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. So first one that came to mind was, I would call a win for sure. It's this band actually out of Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. It's called Next, and their album was called Dusty Shoes. So that's the album cover there. It's a little old of a cover, a little beat up. It's got some tape on the side because it was a radio stations at some point and they wanted to protect it. So what kind of music is it? It's my usual kind of music. It's from 1971, kind of a hard rock type of thing. Canadian group, like I said. The singer ended up being really the only success that kind of went on elsewhere. He became lead singer for the band Harlequin, another Canadian band. But hard rock type of stuff. It's got some organ in it, so it's kind of funky. And Craig Danger, the vinyl record player, he always enjoys some funky stuff. So there's a little bit of a tinge of funk in here as well with the hard rock. What does it sound like? There's been quite a few comparisons, I guess, to kind of Grand Funk Railroad, a little bit of that in here. But all in all, really hard stuff. I put this on the first time and I was like, damn, this is just getting better and better and better. And it's always such a cool thing to have a piece of music that's only been pressed once, right? So it's kind of a rare record, at least up here in Canada for sure. So there it is. Next, Dusty Shoes, album number 1 for Craig Danger, the vinyl record player. I'm supposed to say that at least once. So I'm going to keep saying it, Craig, in case that gives me more entries into your contest. Okay, next one. Never heard of this guy. The cover just intrigued me because it's got a timing strip, promo strip on it. So I was like, hey, cool, maybe this is unique and maybe it's worth a listen. So Duncan Brown, Give Me, Take You on Immediate Records. So this is a 1968 US OG, folk, psych folk type of thing, kind of a bit out of my comfort zone. A really good description I found was Baroque. So Baroque feel, has a bit of a Baroque feel to it, old-timey kind of stuff. You'd have to stream it to kind of get what I'm trying to lay down here. But ultimately, really different. But I kind of think of a bit of a Nick Drake sort of feel to some of it, but a little more out there. Would I call it like folk prog? I don't know, maybe not necessarily, but it's definitely a unique kind of taste. But it's different, it's kind of cool. Do I spin it a lot? Not too much, but it is definitely worth a listen and worth a try. Again, another blind buy, maybe not as successful on my rotation as Dusty Shoes, but still a wicked album and a cool experience to own it, right? So English singer-songwriter, it's his debut album. He didn't write any of the tracks, he just kind of composed them all. I guess he was in some other English folk bands and the producer of those albums said, hey, let's make an album with you. Brought in a songwriter, but he wrote all the songs. And then Duncan sang them and did all the music for them. It's pretty decent. The more I listen to it, the more I like it, that's for sure. Album number 2 for Craig Danger. Duncan Brown, Give Me, Take You. Okay, this is a bit of a cheat here because I had heard of the band, but I didn't know anything about the band. I just knew that one of the members of the band was someone I really admired as a guitar player, and that's Richard Thompson. I think I mentioned it before. So that's for Fairport Convention, and this is I think it's their 3rd studio album. It's called Unhalf Bricking. It's got a really lame cover to it. When I first saw the cover, I didn't know what to make of it. I just thought it was unique. And I looked around the back and it said Fairport Convention. I'm like, well, shit, I know who those guys are. Don't know their music, but I know that they're kind of an important group. So Unhalf Bricking, Fairport Convention. So this is like probably an early 70s repress. It's still, it's got the old Island label there, if you can see that. George Peckham mastered, so if you're into that kind of thing, you know that it's probably a pretty decent sounding record, and on my humble system, it really does sound beautiful. So Fairport Convention, what kind of stuff is that? I was doing some reading up on it, and it sounds like this album was kind of their breakaway from more of a Bob Dylan folk, like American folk kind of stuff, and they started to move and transition into more of a English folk ballad stuff. And you know, on this album, there's a couple songs that are really in that vein. Super cool to listen to. It's not the same style as the Duncan Brown record, but again, you're kind of listening to some, you know, very old world sort of folk kind of overtones to it. So pretty cool stuff. Really glad I scored this album. The more I listen to it, the more I like it. And the star on the album, of course, is the vocalist Sandy Denny. So her voice is just magical. It's just really great. Interesting side note, if you don't know anything about Fairport Convention or Sandy Denny, but you know Led Zeppelin, she is the backing vocalist on Battle of Evermore, singing with Robert Plant, which, you know, tells you all you need to know about how powerful and awesome her voice is. Anyway, Fairport Convention, 1969. It's a 70s repress. Great album. In my case, great condition too. Okay. Didn't know anything about this group. I do now, and it was actually, I had access to this really great collection. I still kind of do, and there was a few albums by this band. This happened to be the one that was in the best physical shape. Didn't know anything about them. Bring it home, spin it, sounds awesome, really into, like, really my kind of stuff. And so I'll probably end up picking up the other ones even if they're not in great condition. I know there's at least, if you know Dr. Robert's channel, I think I've talked to him a couple times about the Groundhogs, and this is their album called Hogwash. So this is their 6th studio album. So again, Groundhogs, Hogwash, 6th studio album. This is a USOG on that. English blues rock, they formed in '63. They actually, Groundhogs, it's actually named after a John Lee Hooker song. As soon as I found that out, I streamed that song, and that's just an incredible John Lee Hooker song, like most of them are. They were a backing band for a lot of like blues artists. Blues artists went over to England in the 60s, and they started doing these big tours, right? Because they had such a massive influence on rock over there. So everyone thought, let's bring these guys over. So they were touring with like Little Walter and Jimmy Reed and John Lee Hooker, and so they actually got to work with the OG guys, right? So that was super cool. Anyway, so blues rock type of stuff kind of gets into like a bit of space rock, prog rock type of thing. Ultimately, I put this album on and don't have any reason to leave the room, right? Really good stuff. And again, this is their 6th album, so there's quite a bit of stuff they've put out over time. So Hogwash, the Groundhogs. And finally, I guess this is number 5 here. Again, an album I just saw, didn't know anything about it. The album cover looked cool, so I'm like, well, the hell with it, I'm grabbing this. And so I brought it home, put it on, cleaned it, put it on, and this is called Bull Angus. So Bull Angus, this is a USOG, this is 1971, their self-titled debut album. They were kind of described as like psych blues and a bit of prog stuff in there. Formed in upstate New York in the late 60s. They put one more album out after this, but that had even less traction than this. They basically were kind of a commercial flop, right? That being said, this album is actually a pretty solid listen. You know, it's got, I think there's 6 guys in the band, so it's pretty full. Everyone gets a turn at a solo, and there's even like, not really Jethro Tull flavors, but there's a flute involved. You know, a bit more Grand Funk Railroad leanings as well. So great flavors all around, really good stuff. Bull Angus, 1971. Yeah, not much more to say about that. Craig Danger, vinyl record player. Love your channel, man. Keep up the great content. Hopefully I got at least 1 entry in the contest. That's it, VC. Stand by for another video, hopefully in the next week or 2. Thanks for all your support in the comments. Spin it often, spin it loud. See ya.